Hello. Today I'm dishing out some ideas for exploring the theme of food in A Christmas Carol, because this is just the sort of awkward, stupid theme that an examiner might see fit to throw at you in an exam.
And you read some sections of A Christmas Carol, your stomach will start rumbling like a good un, because that novel is festooned with descriptions of food. Start at stage 3, I'm almost drooling on the page. You've got that sumptuous sight of all that delicious grub surrounding the ghost of Christmas present, you know, the lad with the horn of plenty. Later on in that stage, you've got a very Cratchit Christmas, haven't you? You've got that throwaway line about the excitable potatoes knocking at the pot to be let out. Stage 2, Fat Fezziwig's party. A musician buries his head in a vat of porter, this delicious black beer, and of course there's more food on offer there. And of course, stage 1, you've got Marley's face is likened to a glowing bad lobster. But as you know, finding evidence of that key theme or idea mentioned in the exam question is only half of the job. You've then got to explain the significance or the meaning of it somehow. Now this is the layout of the Edexcel question B. It's always going to look very similar to this. This is the kind of default layout. Explain how, insert whatever theme it is presented elsewhere in the novel. Why elsewhere? Because of course they don't want you referring to the extract they give you for question A. So let's take a peek now at a few of Dickens's references to food and get them fit for an examiner's beady eye. In stage 1, you've got Dickens jump-starting my saliva ducts by mentioning my favourite food, oysters. Now they look horrible, oysters, like a wad of phlegm, but I tell you, add some lemon, a bit of Tabasco, maybe your elders have a small glass of stout, I tell you, your taste buds will tap dance with delight. But why does Dickens take such an appetising seafood and use it to describe such an unsavoury fellow as Scrooge? Well, an oyster comes with its shell snapped shut or closed. I mean, you really have to open it with a knife. And that's a great image then for capturing that kind of self-imposed isolation from society that Scrooge experiences. Also, an oyster sometimes has a pearl in it, so linking Scrooge to this seafood can suggest or foreshadow that kind of goodness, something valuable or precious inside of Scrooge that of course becomes increasingly evident as the story unfolds. Now before we write an exam response, cock an eye over this perfect percolation, this brief summary of what the examiner wants from you. In a critical style of writing, that means like a formal or an academic style of writing, in a critical style of writing, present intelligent interpretations based on appropriate evidence. Master this and the world is your oyster. So we're building up a paragraph now in response to that question on food based on this bit of evidence about Scrooge being as solitary as an oyster. The stuff in red here is the point responding to the question, and the stuff in green is the evidence. Now my point, the stuff in red, is very straightforward. I'm mentioning the stave where this description of food is located, and then I'm very simply just saying in a no frills kind of way what this description of food is doing. It's giving an insight into Scrooge's character. There's that word protagonist on the second line. Protagonist just means the main character, the hero. But again, because I'm aiming for that critical style, I just thought it prudent to toss that in. Adding to my paragraph now, I've woven in the explanation, the stuff in blue. This is where I'm suggesting what the meaning or the significance of that food-based evidence is. I've mentioned the reader, this successfully suggests the reader, because with Edexcel you always have to specify explicitly the effect on the reader. I'm thinking, of course, about the significance or meaning of that evidence. And I've said that, it captures the idea that Scrooge is isolated. Then I've got that word because, and I love the word because. I really do have a burning yearning for that word. It works as a great springboard to explain how I infer isolation from that oyster image. It's clamped shut, isn't it? Now, frankly, if you stop your paragraph here, you've done a great job. This is an intelligent interpretation. It's what the examiner wants. But I'm striving to shunt you towards the highest marks. So I'm going to see if I can add another layer of analysis to this paragraph. Remember when I was honking on about that pearl? Well, that stuff in black there, that is me shaping those ideas into a couple of sentences that fairly fizz with critical style and intelligent insight. You'll notice the last line is in red, the colour of the point. This is an optional line, but what it's doing, food here captures the key character. What it's doing is looping back to that question on food, giving my paragraph this kind of pleasingly cyclic structure, reaffirming that I'm on task. Our second proper look at food in the novel now. You've got the ghost of Christmas present taking Scrooge to see the Cratchit Christmas dinner in stage 3, and the family sit down at this small roast goose. Now I'm going to lay on 2 interpretations again, purely as I say, because I'm marshalling you towards those level 8 and 9 grades. The first interpretation, the size of this portion, the small size here, is significant. That's conveying the family's poverty. They can't afford enough food to feed themselves. I mean, they can barely feed a barnhouse mouse on a meal this small, let alone Cratchit's large family. Second interpretation, well, actually, this scene, in spite of their hardship and the poverty, it does capture something of the vitality, the good spirits, the resilience of the family. Because, well, I mean, they may be sitting down at a meal that wouldn't fit in a pygmy's fist, but they're happy with the day, with each other, with the occasion. They're not going to let a lack of food dampen their festive mood. You can read the finished product now. I'm not going to deconstruct this one, but you can see why it's a winning paragraph. The colour coding should help you there, see what I've done well. Or one thing, you'll see in green the evidence on Christmas Day they sit down to a small goose. You'll notice that's not a quotation, that's a textual reference. And the Edexcel examiner, he's fine with that. I mean, it's one of his few charitable gestures. I think there's a word in there in the black, the development of the analysis, indefatigable, the family's vitality and indefatigable nature. Indefatigable means unbeatable, undefeatable. Oh, check out the flawless Photoshop in there at the top. There's a reason why I'm not an IT teacher. This is our third and final brush with food in A Christmas Carol. Why only 3? Well, don't forget in the exam, you've got about 20 to 25 minutes for this question, this part of the question, part B. So 3 to 4 ideas, well developed, is fine. Quality beats quantity any day with a wine it. When Scrooge buys Bob that big old turkey at the end of the novel, we see Scrooge is no longer the penny pinching old misery of old, but a jolly gentleman happy to dish out dinner to Cratchit and his kids. Simply because I can be irritating to black belt standard, I've not given you a paragraph here. I've just given you, as it were, the ingredients. They're colour coded. You've got point, evidence, explanation 1, and that deeper explanation in black. And perhaps if you're so inclined, if you wish, have a go at writing your own paragraph in response to that question. Explain how food is presented in the novel. Oh, yeah, and don't expect me to mark it, because I'm going for my black belt in meanness and all.
And there we have it, folks. Plenty of food for thought. I'm sure you'll agree. We've served up some deliciously good exam paragraphs in response to that theme of food. A feast for the eyes. Anywho, we're getting a bit fed up here. Time for me to be off. Best of luck in that exam hall.